The wind howled like a banshee outside, clawing at the old farmhouse with icy fingers. Rain lashed against the windows, a relentless drumming that seemed to vibrate through Sarah's bones. Inside, the crackling fire offered little comfort against the pervasive chill that seeped from the ancient stone walls. Sarah, a research student at a nearby university, had impulsively rented the isolated farmhouse in rural Vermont for the weekend. She craved a quiet escape to focus on her thesis, a historical deep dive into the folklore and legends of the region. Little did she know, the farmhouse itself was steeped in a legend as unsettling as any she'd read. Locals whispered about the previous tenant, a reclusive artist who had vanished without a trace a year prior. The rumor mill churned out tales of his descent into madness, fueled by the isolation and the malevolent whispers that supposedly echoed within the thick walls. Sarah, a self-proclaimed pragmatist, dismissed them as mere stories. As the storm raged outside, Sarah hunched over her laptop, the only source of light besides the flickering fire. The house creaked and groaned with the wind, a symphony of unsettling sounds. Each creak, each groan, sent a jolt through her, but she dismissed them as settling wood in the old house. Then, a new sound, a faint whisper, barely audible over the howling wind. It seemed to come from the walls themselves, a wordless murmur that sent chills down her spine. She strained to hear, her heart pounding in her chest. Was it just the wind playing tricks on her mind? Desperate to break the tension, she grabbed a book on local legends, hoping to distract herself. It mentioned a peculiar phenomenon reported by some who had spent time in the farmhouse, whispers, seemingly emanating from within the walls itself. The locals attributed it to restless spirits, a chilling explanation Sarah still wouldn't entertain. But the whispers continued, growing stronger with each gust of wind. They seemed to form words, unintelligible at first, then chillingly clear. "Leave," they rasped, a ghostly plea echoing through the room. Terror gripped Sarah. The firelight, once comforting, now cast grotesque shadows that danced menacingly on the walls. The whispers intensified, a barrage of voices pleading, demanding her departure. Suddenly, a gust of wind rattled the windows, plunging the room into darkness. The fire died, the only remaining light a faint glow from her laptop screen. Panic surged through her. She scrambled for her phone, its weak flashlight a feeble shield against the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, a gust of wind rattled the windows, plunging the room into darkness. The fire died, the only remaining light a faint glow from her laptop screen. Panic surged through her. She scrambled for her phone, its weak flashlight a feeble shield against the encroaching darkness. As her eyes adjusted, she saw a faint outline at the far end of the room. A man, gaunt and skeletal, stood staring at her with eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. The whispers ceased. Sarah screamed, a primal shriek that tore through the silence of the storm. The figure, as silent as the shadows, did not move. The flashlight beam trembled in her hand, illuminating the vacant look on its face. It was the missing artist, his clothes ragged, a haunted expression etched on his face. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the figure vanished. The power flickered back on, bathing the room in its harsh light. The figure was gone, leaving Sarah alone with the silence that seemed to mock her terror. Shaking uncontrollably, she grabbed her bag and phone. There was no way she was staying another night. The storm outside had calmed somewhat, but the fear within her remained. As she drove away, the farmhouse stood desolate in the rearview mirror, a menacing silhouette against the clearing sky. The whispers, though silenced, echoed in her mind, a chilling reminder of the night she encountered the truth hidden within the walls, a truth far more terrifying than any legend. The fog rolled in thick and heavy, obscuring the rugged California coastline in an ethereal blanket. Emily, an avid photographer on a solo road trip, found herself stranded on a deserted highway. Her car, a sputtering casualty of the damp coastal air, refused to restart. Frustration gnawed at her, battling with the growing unease that settled in her stomach as the fog seemed to swallow the world around her. She knew there were isolated towns scattered along the coast, but visibility was down to a few feet, making it impossible to see in any direction. Phone service was non-existent. Emily rummaged through her backpack, pulling out a tattered map, hoping to find a landmark or a gas station within walking distance. A small, hand-drawn note tucked into the map caught her eye. Scrawled in faded ink were the words, "Follow the light. The lighthouse will guide you." Intrigued, she unfolded the map. It depicted a crude drawing of the coastline, a lighthouse marking a small inlet a few miles north of her current location. She considered her options. The fog, though disconcerting, was a better gamble than staying put with a dead car. With a deep breath, Emily shouldered her backpack and set off, following the barely visible line on the map. The air was thick with moisture, chilling her to the bone. Every rustle in the bushes, every groan of the wind through the fog-laden trees, sent a jolt through her. After what felt like an eternity, a faint glow appeared in the distance, barely visible through the dense fog. Hope surged through her. The lighthouse. With renewed energy, she pressed on, the light growing stronger with each step. As she emerged from the fog, the sight that greeted her wasn't a majestic lighthouse, but a dilapidated shack, its windows boarded shut, a lone lantern hanging crookedly from the porch, casting a faint, flickering glow. Disappointment washed over her, quickly replaced by a surge of fear. The map was wrong. Suddenly, a silhouette emerged from the shack. A tall, gaunt figure, shrouded in shadow, materialized in the doorway. Fear threatened to paralyze her, but a primal instinct pushed her to make a move. She fumbled in her backpack for her pepper spray, her heart hammering in her chest. "Hello," she called out, her voice cracking in the silence. The figure remained still, watching her with an unreadable expression. "I'm lost," Emily continued, her voice trembling slightly. "My car broke down. Do you have a phone I could use?" The figure stepped forward, revealing a weathered face and kind eyes. "Come inside, child," he said gently, his voice raspy from disuse. "You must be freezing." Hesitantly, Emily followed him into the shack. The interior was surprisingly clean and cozy, a fire crackling in the small, cast-iron stove. The old man offered her a steaming mug of tea and a warm blanket. He explained that he was a retired lighthouse keeper, the victim of a budget cut that replaced his post with an automated system. He still lived in the shack, unable to tear himself away from the solitude and the sea. As the night wore on, the fog began to lift. By morning, the coast was bathed in bright sunshine. The old man helped Emily jump-start her car, his weathered face creased in a smile. "Thank you," Emily stammered, her voice thick with relief and gratitude. "You saved me last night." As the night wore on, the fog began to lift. By morning, the coast was bathed in bright sunshine. The old man helped Emily jump-start her car, his weathered face creased in a smile. "Thank you," Emily stammered, her voice thick with relief and gratitude. "You saved me last night." With a final wave goodbye, Emily drove away, the image of the shack and the kind-hearted old man etched in her memory. The map, with its misleading inscription, now held a deeper meaning. It wasn't just about the physical lighthouse, but about the kindness and humanity that can illuminate even the darkest of nights. The cramped Brooklyn apartment felt suffocating on a sweltering July night. With the air conditioner on the fritz, Liam decided to browse Craigslist for a used one, hoping to snag a deal before the weekend heatwave peaked. An ad for a barely used AC unit, priced suspiciously low, caught his eye. The seller, identified only as J. Smith, listed a nearby address in a rundown part of town Liam usually avoided. Hesitantly, he messaged J. Smith, arranging a late-night meeting to inspect the unit. The neighborhood was a labyrinth of narrow streets, lined with graffiti-covered buildings. Liam parked his car several blocks away, his unease growing with every step towards the address. He found the building, a dingy tenement with peeling paint and broken windows. A single bare bulb cast a sickly yellow glow on the grimy entrance hallway. Liam dialed J. Smith's number, the buzzing unanswered. He hesitated, debating whether to leave, but the thought of another night in his sweltering apartment pushed him forward. He climbed the creaking stairs, the silence broken only by the distant wail of sirens. On the third floor, he found the apartment, the door ajar. He knocked tentatively, his heart pounding. "Come in," a gruff voice called out from inside. Taking a deep breath, Liam pushed the door open. The apartment was dark, lit only by the faint glow from a flickering television in the corner. A hulking figure sat hunched on the sofa, his back to Liam. "J. Smith?" Liam asked hesitantly. The figure remained still. "The AC unit," he finally rasped, his voice distorted by the darkness. About 10 feet from the door, on the right. Liam inched forward, his senses on high alert. He located the AC unit, a bulky box with a dusty cord dangling from it. As he bent down to examine it, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him. The man on the couch wasn't alone. Another figure, obscured by shadows, stood motionless in the doorway. Trying to stay calm, Liam straightened up. "Doesn't look too bad," he mumbled, his voice strained. "How much did you say?" The man on the couch remained silent. Liam glanced back at the shadowy figure, his breath catching in his throat. "Actually," he stammered, forcing a smile, "I think I might have found something else." Without waiting for a response, he bolted towards the door. A shout erupted behind him, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. Liam sprinted down the stairs, his lungs burning, the pounding of his pursuers echoing in the stairwell. He burst out of the building and into the night, not daring to look back. He didn't stop running until he reached the relative safety of his car several blocks away. Panting heavily, he sank behind the wheel, his heart hammering. His Craigslist bargain hunt had turned into a terrifying encounter, leaving him shaken but grateful to be alive. The next morning, Liam reported the incident to the police. He never learned who J. Smith or the shadowy figure were, but the experience left a lasting mark on him. He never again ventured into the dark corners of Craigslist, a lesson learned the hard way in the dead of a Brooklyn night. If you enjoy this content and want to see more, please subscribe and turn on notifications to support the channel.